FI values, FI values. Contrary to popular belief, I don't think the INFP shies away from conflict. I mean, no, don't get me wrong, we are like very easygoing creatures because like most things don't really matter that much, but once you infringe upon our principles and our values, then really like so angry. Hey guys, I just wanted to take some time today to talk about INFPs and what is famously referred to as the FI Cavern. Okay, I think this is because I watched another video about whether or not INFPs are oversensitive. I was thinking, okay, that's interesting, like we have a reputation or a stereotype of being oversensitive, and I wanted to explore that. Are we too sensitive? I don't know. I'm thinking like what it really is that we can be very, very aware of all the emotional nuances of a situation, like all the emotional shades or all the shades of an emotion. So I guess if you're aware of it, you can be like very sensitive to it. Also, I wanted to visually talk about what like the cavern actually looks like, because people talk about it but they don't really flesh out exactly what they mean. Okay, this might be a bit controversial, but I'm thinking that we navigate the world based on how it should be, or like how we think it should be rather than how it actually is, which it sounds like almost delusional. Normally, you could think of it as, okay, I want to get this result and I have to do this to get to this result, so I'm going to do this. Pretty obvious. But when you have like very strong FI principles, it's not just about the results. It's also like, let me try to do the right thing according to me, obviously, at all times. Okay, so, but what is right? There's not really any right or wrong, right? So basically, the way that we determine that, and the way we navigate actions through the real world, is we compare the real world with a world that we have already built up in our minds. Yeah, so when we do something and we're thinking like, should I do this, should I not do this? It's not so much what will happen if I do this. It's more like, let me see if this action will be consistent in representing who I am, representing my beliefs. Let me see how it compares with my inner world. Okay, so I guess to some people it's a little bit bizarre in that sense. And what does it look like? What does this inner world look like? Okay, I'm not sure about the ISFP, but for INFPs or tertiary SI and secondary or auxiliary NE allows us to create a very rich and very colorful and very nuanced inner world, because SI is great at associations, great at memorizing, and NE very good at imagining and going off on creative tangents. So basically, NE is furnishing our FI Cavern with things that we've experienced through SI, but also a creative spin. So it's not exactly what we've experienced, it's also like fashioning that into something new. There's this theory that I have that like INFPs and FI DOMs can be like a bit of an emotional masochist. And wait. It's not as bad as it sounds. It's like we have a high tolerance. This is kind of funny, right? Because I know like we're sensitive or whatever, but actually we have a really high tolerance for pain and a really high tolerance for negativity, because we recognize that positivity means nothing without the negativity. And we're constantly trying to enlarge our inner world. Basically, we want the extremes. We want the extreme ecstasy and the extreme emotional despair, because I mean, everything in between, like maybe we've already experienced. So when it's a very bad situation, it's not that we go seek them out, but it tends to be that that's always my silver lining. No matter how bad a situation is, I'm like, well, okay, I reached a little deeper into my cavern, or it became a little bit larger and a little more colorful. if you compare FI with FE, FE is about emotional harmony and efficiency. So it's not that the FE wants to be happy and cuddly and yay people all the time. It's that they always have an emotional intention. If they want a social or emotional situation to turn out this way, they will go through these expressions. Like, they want to make you happy, they will do this. They want to make you upset, they will say this. So very intentional. Just like the TE. Like, TE is very intentionally in using logic. And TI is more of building an inner framework. So FI is, I guess the FI Cavern thingy that I talk about, that everyone else talks about, is or emotional framework. So just as the TI person would learn things just for learning's sake about logic, and TE would learn something to apply it in an external situation, the FI, unlike FE, it's not like, let me figure out these emotions to get you to feel this way or to get this situation in a certain way. It's just for its own sake. Do you know that quote, like, happiness is meaningless without sadness and vice versa? I mean, everyone comes to learn that eventually, but this is like at the heart of the INFP, I believe, because we are explorers, really, because we have NE, so we're explorers. But unlike the ENFP, who might explore more in the physical world, their NETE loop allows them to think of something and then execute it, think of something, execute it, and have such a wild life. And the INFP could also have a lot of distinct personal experiences and a great variety of crazy personal experiences, but mostly we use the NE exploratory function to explore our inner world and to explore nuances of one situation. So basically what I'm saying in a very roundabout way is that we are emotional explorers. We would like to explore the entire emotional spectrum of humanity. That is really what I want. Sometimes I get into weird or awkward situations, and I really welcome that because I feel like I can learn something new from that experience in an emotional sense. Okay, there's this book that we had to read in high school called Madame Bovary. It's a great book. You should read it. But anyway, this is not a spoiler, but she is like, I think she's one of the most INFP characters ever. And so in the first 2 chapters, there's this section where her mom dies. Again, not a spoiler, first 2 chapters. Her mother dies, I think, and it says that, okay, she is sad, but she is taking so much pleasure in observing her waves of emotion, her shades of emotion. So it's a tragic event, she is sad, but she likes analyzing and observing the different shades of emotional experience, the different currents that she's going through. And she's also observing how these emotional experiences manifest out into the real world and any associated symbols there are. And I thought, wow, that is so INFP, like FI Cavern. To summarize, yeah, we are explorers of the human condition. We are explorers of the emotional spectrum. So we don't shy away from conflict because it's a way to explore and grow and enrich our inner lives and inner world. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you for watching the INFP Corner. I hope you've been enjoying this series. I do take requests, not that I will like for sure do it, but if you have any ideas or suggestions on what you would like me and Alex, the INTJ, to talk about, I would love to hear it. So hope to see you next week.